Good morning, beloveds, and happy St. Patrick's Day. And the green shirt is, well, I would say coincidental, except for the fact that I'm a redhead, and so a whole lot of my wardrobe is green. So your chances of me wearing a green shirt is pretty good. So, yeah. And if you are even a little bit Irish, because, any of us with English ancestry probably have a little Irish in us, then happy St. Patrick's Day. Celebrate your Irish heritage. And let me remind you that the purpose of St. Patrick's Day, because St. Patrick is not Irish, St. Patrick is English. What he did was he converted the Irish. So it is a day of prayer for missionaries around the world. Now, whatever you feel about missionaries, because I have thoughts on missionaries, today would be a good day to pray for them, for their safety, and for them to be following their teachings. I have said before and will say again that my beef with missionaries is that they show up in a place and say, I'll build you a hospital, I'll build you a school, I'll build you if you convert to my faith. Do it the other way around. Show up and build them the school, show up and build them the hospital. Show them your faith. And then if they want to convert. But that's the teaching that we belong to. That is Science of Mind. We're not really a religion. We really are a philosophy. We're much more like Buddhism. And Ernest didn't start out to start his own, religious tradition, which is why we call ourselves spiritual centers for spiritual living, because what Ernest did was he said, you know what? Jesus prayed a very specific way. Let's do that. And then he was like, and we'll teach anybody that comes to us how to pray that way. And then they can take it back to their own faith traditions. Well, the problem is a whole lot of people showed up and didn't go back to their faith traditions. And here we are. So a day of prayer for missionaries. I honestly do believe if you want to be a missionary for your faith, then live your faith. Walk your talk. Okay. And I'm going to get back off that soapbox and on to the other one. It is March 17th. As I said, it is St. Patrick's Day. Our title is Life Eternal. The first quote is, for there is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease. Well, it is Job. That's Job 14:7. And the second quote is, death has nothing to do with life everlasting. That is Science of Mind, page 478. One of the most satisfying, if occasionally frustrating, hobbies one can have is growing trees. Nothing is more beautiful to me than those fragrant and colorful, exquisitely fashioned blooms. Growing roses. That would explain why I'm confused. Growing roses. Nothing is more beautiful to me than those fragrant and colorful, exquisitely fashioned blooms. No wonder the rose is the favorite flower of so many. The rose bush in the middle of the winter bears hardly any resemblance to the abundant bush we see in spring and summer. It looks like little more than a mass of brown dead branches and twigs. Indeed, the inexperienced gardener might be inclined to dig it up, thinking its life is over. However, miraculously, in the winter, as the weather becomes warmer, the plant is transformed and soon is lovelier than ever, provided we have given it careful pruning and nourishing. Even if it is neglected, new growth will still appear. Life goes on. The appearance of death was only an illusion as old leaves and flowers dropped away. Similarly, the life of each of us goes on and is everlasting. At the end of this life's experience, we will go through a transition known as death and emerge into a fuller and more abundant life. Thus, God's promise in the biblical passage above is fulfilled to us as it is in the rose. I know that as a child of God, I have been given the gift of eternal life. I am thankful for this divine inheritance and all the blessings of this present life. Thank you, God. And that is J.A. Jean Anderson. It's a heck of a reading for St. Patrick's Day. I'm going to have to think about this for a minute. Although, interestingly enough, one of the things, and it just happened because we had the evening off, there's a show that we watch, and it comes on Discovery Channel, called Expedition Unknown. And in 2018, he did a series of 4 shows where that's what he chased. He chased the afterlife. And the host's name is Josh Gates. And he actually gets to do a whole lot of things that you're like, wow. But it's because he's very respectful. He's very, very respectful. And he's willing to throw in. It's like, if you ask him to do something so that he can film, he's like, I am in. And so that's what he was chasing, was the afterlife. We've watched 3 of the 4, so we still have 1 more to go. And it was very interesting because he went, I forget where he was, but wherever he was, he lived as a Muslim for 1 day during Ramadan. And, had that experience. And he was also in India. And this is what I'm talking about. He's very respectful, where there's this particular city, and I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try, but it's called the City of Death, where they pretty much have constant fires going where they burn their dead. And he got permission, he got permission to view one of these funerals. And when the family said, well, if you're going to view it, you might as well, help. So he got to be a pallbearer. And he threw it. And so, but that's what he was talking about. He was talking to all of these various and different cultures, the Hindu culture, the Muslim culture, he talked to scientists, and he talked about death, and he talked about consciousness, and the fact that, science is just now starting to catch up with the fact that consciousness is not the same as the body. And so it's been really interesting to watch this, because pretty much every faith tradition has some kind of idea about the afterlife. Now, interestingly enough, one of the people that he talked to was Penn, the magician from Penn and Teller, who is an atheist. And that was an interesting conversation. So it's like, when you have these conversations, pretty much every tradition has some idea of the afterlife. And it's something that we, I think, as living beings need. We need it. And
surprise.
One of the things that we had, and I'm sorry, I lost that thought. I lost that thought. But that's one of the beauties of the cycles of nature, is when in the fall we watch these, almost all of our trees. Now, I live far enough in the south that we've got a lot of evergreen pine trees that never completely lose. And we also have water oaks, or is it live oaks? It's one of those two that never, it just in the springtime, they push all their old leaves off, but they keep their leaves all year round. But these trees, they just lose everything. And then we've got these particular type of bushes that are kind of a cross between a bush and a tree, because they get really tall. And what you see is sometime in the late winter, they just cut them to nothing. Like, they cut all of their branches off, because it forces them to make new heads. And so that's one of those things, is that it's fascinating to watch. It looks like a dead pile of sticks, and then spring starts, and you start to see these little new growths. And then in a couple of months, they're like full on. It's like nature shows us this every time. Every time. There's always life. There's always life. And that's one of the conversations that you have to have occasionally when you do this kind of work. It's like, all right, and we did recently have that conversation. How can death be a healing? Because sometimes eventually this vehicle is going to wear out, but the soul that animates it, the spirit that is you, that never wears out. So while this body will wear out, eventually there's something else. He talked to, Josh Gates talked to several near-death experiences, and that was interesting. That was an interesting to listen to too. So it's just fascinating. And so to have been watching that last night and then to have this reading today, and you're just like, oh wow, all right. So, and I'm probably have just been a hot mess because I'm still thinking about it. And it's something that you're always going to, you're always going to think about, and you're going to get new information, and you're going to think about it. One of the classes that I took right before I got out of ministerial school, and it was the last time they were going to teach it, and I just really wanted to take it, was the reincarnation class. And the reason I wanted to take it was because it was taught by Amit Goswami. And he's a nuclear physicist who his idea is to combine medicine, like Western medicine, and spirituality. And so he's the one that teaches the Quantum Doctor as well. I just really wanted to take that class. And it's an old class. You could tell from the videos that it was an old class. But it was really interesting because he's from India. So it was that idea. And, the idea of a bodhisattva, it's an idea because if you're going to look at the Hindu tradition of reincarnation, you keep coming back until you learn your lessons. And eventually, once you learn your lesson, then at the point of death, you will be awake enough you can step off the wheel of reincarnation and head into nirvana. But there are people who have met that requirement and they have seen that step and they choose to come back, and they keep coming back because they want to help everybody else get there. So, if you ask Ernest, he doesn't believe in reincarnation. He definitely, well, I shouldn't say that. Although he does say, I don't believe we come back here. When he was asked that question, it was shortly after his beloved wife, Hazel, had passed. And he said, we go on, but we don't have to come back here. But I believe you get a choice. You want to come back here and keep doing the work that we do here? You can, and learning lessons. But Ernest, he's like, yeah, no. The soul within us keeps going. But we don't have to come back here. So, I don't know. The mission today, should we choose to accept it? I would say, you know what? I'm going to take a note from the roses. The mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to do some careful pruning and nourishing. All right? If we want to have a joyous, and you know what? It's Easter. We're coming up on Easter. We're coming up on our star, and that's exactly the energy of Easter and Ozara. Let's do some careful pruning and some careful nourishing. You are a beloved child of God. You deserve nourishing. And a little judicious pruning is a good thing. I talk about weeding your thoughts. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes there are things that we do and we do them out of habit and we're not even aware that we do them anymore. Well, maybe it's time to prune that. That's the mission today. Should we choose to accept it? And when I talk about gentle nourishing, that's, well, the next thing that I suggest every day, which is to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever that looks like. And it may be, and it's definitely gentle nourishing. It is. And it can definitely look like pruning. Sometimes there are things that we can let go of. And I will tell you, no is a complete sentence. Okay? People come to us and they want things from us. And you know what? Maybe that's something that needs to be pruned, and you are allowed to say no. All right? That is loving, kind, and compassionate to yourself, to say no. It occurs to me. We talk about the divine yes all the time. And we talk about saying yes to opportunities and all of this. But occasionally, it's a good idea to remember there is a divine no. Okay? So, it can also look like taking a deep breath before we speak. That way, we can choose whether we actually want to say yes or should we say no. It looks like taking a nap. It looks like taking a day of rest. It looks like sleeping in a little bit. It looks like self-care. Absolutely, it looks like self-care. All right? Love, kindness, and compassion. Take care of yourself. It is absolutely about self-care. Okay. I'm just off track now. The weather shifted. The storms came through last night. We had a 25 degree, like it was 70 when I went to bed and 44 when I woke up. That's a good thing. So practice on yourself. Practice love, kindness, and compassion on yourself. You are your own best test subject. But more importantly, what I'm encouraging you to do is create a habit. Sometimes we've got habits that we need to prune. Well, this is a habit I think that we should develop. Love, kindness, and compassion. Practice on yourself. You are your own best test subject. It's immediate feedback. As I said, you deserve your own love, kindness, and compassion. And I say it is a spiritual principle. What I am reminding you of is that you are creating a well-worn path to the center of your being, to the source of your being, to the source of infinite love, infinite kindness, infinite compassion. There are going to be days that you are going to need a little extra. And there are going to be days that you are going to meet people who need a little extra. That is why we practice. I'm also going to remind you that practicing love, kindness, and compassion on yourself is also about making room for joy. Okay? Your life is a special occasion. Don't save the good stuff. We are talking about the life eternal. We are talking about the next life. We are talking about life everlasting. Well, this life is a special occasion. Make room for joy. Don't save the good stuff. So when you hear me say, eat dessert first, I literally mean that. I do occasionally eat dessert first. Probably more often than not. And then I follow it with a healthy dinner. But that's what I'm talking about. Self-care, love, kindness, and compassion. Make room for joy. It is a quality of God. Therefore, it is a quality of you. Make room for it. Okay? Okay. I do encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body. Unless today is your day of rest, as it is mine. I do encourage you to drink plenty of water. Hydration is super important. Your brain works better when it's hydrated, and your skin looks better when it's hydrated. I do encourage you to get early in your day bright light. Here's where I talk about science, circadian rhythms. It is literally a hormone rhythm. We are bound to nature, because I was talking about nature earlier, the cycles of nature. Well, you have a hormone balance. When you get early in your day bright light, especially if you get up before the sun does, it helps to reset those hormones. You will have more energy during the day. You will sleep better at night. It is science. You can look it up. So I do encourage you. If you wake up and it is still raining outside, artificial light helps too. Okay? Bright light early in the morning. Reset those hormones. And then, Ernest Holmes. One of my favorite quotes ever, because I use it every day. Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you that you do live in heaven right here, right now. It's all around us all the time. What that reminds me is that heaven is a state of mind. It is a state of consciousness. In Science of Mind, we teach that there is one, which means that we are all made from the same substance. We are all made from God stuff, which means we are all good stuff. Now, it does mean we have to make good choices, but the point is, when we recognize that heaven is a state of mind, it's a state of consciousness, when we learn to create it for ourselves, heaven ceases to be a place and can become any place. And if we practice, because I talk a lot about practicing, it can become every place. If we want a world that works for everyone, learning that for ourselves is a big step. It's a big step. When you walk around in a heavenly state of mind, when you walk around in a heavenly state of conscious, you make different choices and you interact with the world differently. So, learn that state of grace. Because it is. Once you learn to do it for yourself, nobody can take it away from you. It's a superpower. And you come pre-installed with it. All right? I say we come pre-installed with the Christ consciousness, that heavenly state of mind, that's part of the Christ consciousness. It's just what we call it here, the Christ consciousness. But you go all over the world and they all have different names for it, but we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the same thing. Knowing who we are. All right. I think I'm at the part where I remind you we are... Oh, no. Let me take Emma's advice. Look for the good and praise it. If we want to open the windows of our soul, that is a great way to do it. There's lots of, intense ways to do it, but a quick and easy one, look for the good and praise it. All right. I always want to remind you of that. Sometimes I say, open the windows of your soul, and you're like, what are you? Look for the good and praise it. Okay. Now I'm going to remind you about the social media. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. I am the running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. We try and post really good content. I try and post good content, uplifting content, and funny content. So, because I saw a really good one that I've got to post, but I got to go edit the picture because I borrowed it from a friend for St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. And if you want to know what's going on with the center, email info@creativelife.org. That will get you on the constant contact. The hot links are hot. If it says click here now, it'll either take you right to the information you want or to the person that can help you get it. Like, for example, click here now on the playlist for the soul sessions. It'll take you right to our YouTube. Please like and subscribe and share the YouTube. There's good stuff on that. Really good stuff on that. I'm very proud of our YouTube channel. I worked very hard on it. So, okay. Oh, and new feature on our website, which is creativelife.org. If you go to the Sunday Talks, it'll take you right to our YouTube channel. So, all right. I think I'm at the part where I get to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonder-filled day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a wear green day. Celebrate your Irish Heritage Day, even if you have none. Because on St. Patrick's Day, everybody is Irish. A stay warm day. A stay dry day. Hey, go dance in the rain if you want to day. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. Because you are enough just as you are. You are a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased and well represented. You are a brilliant light, a divine spark. You are God in motion. You are spirit in action. You are godling. Know who you are. Know who you are. When you know who you are, life is a little bit easier. All right? Because you know that you got the silent partner back of you that's got your back. Honestly. That's the thing about knowing that you're a beloved child of God. That you know that you have that guidance that you can turn to anytime, every time. All right. That's what I'm talking about. All right. I need to move on into the process of my day. So I'm going to remind you, Reverend David should be on Facebook Live around 5 p.m. with you. I should be back with you around 9 a.m. I do intend to go to the park tomorrow. Yep. That's what I got distracted by the park. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.